Every time your mind wanders, it's building a person. The version of you that exists 5 years from now is being assembled right now, in the moments you dismiss as mental noise. That drifting you do in the shower, on your commute, staring at the ceiling before sleep. Your brain is using that time to architect an identity. By the end of this, you'll understand why those unproductive minutes might be the most creative work you ever do. There's a specific network in your brain that lights up the moment you stop focusing on the outside world. Scientists call it the default mode network. The name itself tells you something. It's what your brain defaults to when nothing external demands your attention. For decades, researchers treated this network as background noise, the brain idling, a screensaver. Then, imaging technology got better, and they noticed something strange. This idle network was burning through almost as much energy as focused concentration. Your brain wasn't resting. It was working on something it considered urgent. So what was it doing? Building you. The same regions that activate when you daydream also activate when someone asks you to describe yourself, when you recall a memory from childhood, when you imagine next Tuesday, when you think about what your best friend might be feeling. All of these self-reflection, memory, future projection, understanding other minds, run on the same hardware. Your sense of who you are and your capacity to imagine who you could become share a single engine. Sit with that for a second. The mental wandering you've been told to eliminate, to meditate away, to replace with productivity, that wandering is your identity under construction. Every time your mind drifts to a conversation you might have tomorrow, it's rehearsing a version of you. Every time it replays an awkward moment from last week, it's editing the story of who you are. The narrative doesn't stop. You just stop noticing it. This is where it gets personal. Think about what your mind does when you give it nothing to do. Where does it go? For most people, it cycles through 3 territories: the past, the future, and other people. Regrets, plans, relationships, and every one of those cycles is shaping the self you wake up as tomorrow. The content of your daydreams is the blueprint of your becoming. Neville Goddard understood this before any brain scanner confirmed it. He taught that your imagination, specifically the scenes you replay in your mind with feeling, is the creative act itself. He called it living in the end. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, he said, and your entire inner world reorganizes around that assumption. What Goddard described as a spiritual law looks through the lens of modern research, like a precise description of what the default mode network does. It takes an imagined scenario, attaches emotional weight to it, and integrates it into your self-concept. The network treats a vividly imagined future with the same seriousness it treats a remembered past. Here's where most people unknowingly sabotage themselves. They spend their focused hours working toward a goal, the career, the relationship, the health transformation. Then in every unstructured moment, their default mode network runs a completely different film. Worry loops, catastrophic projections, rehearsals of failure, old stories about unworthiness playing on repeat, like a song you can't get out of your head. The focused mind says, I'm building something new. The wandering mind says, but you're still the person who failed last time. And the wandering mind logs more hours. This is the discipline nobody talks about. Mental diet, Goddard's term for it, means governing the content that plays during those unstructured moments. The real work of transformation happens when your mind is between tasks, waiting in line, lying awake at 3 a.m, driving a familiar route on autopilot. Those are the moments when your default mode network is most active, most hungry for material, most willing to weave whatever you feed it into the fabric of your identity. A skeptic within the spiritual community might push back here. If daydreaming builds identity, why do chronic daydreamers often feel stuck? Fair question. The answer is direction. The default mode network is a construction crew, and construction crews build whatever's on the blueprint. Aimless worry produces an identity organized around threat. Compulsive nostalgia produces a self that lives in a closed chapter. The network itself is neutral machinery. The question is whether you're handing it architectural plans or letting it build from whatever debris is lying around. Consider what happens when you deliberately change the input. You sit quietly and construct a scene, a specific scene, that implies your desire is already fulfilled. You hear the handshake after the deal closes. You hear the specific words from someone you love. You sense the weight of your body in the chair of the office you haven't earned yet. The default mode network can't distinguish this from planning based on memory. It files it the same way. It begins cross-referencing this imagined experience with your existing self-concept, looking for connections, filling in gaps, adjusting the narrative to accommodate this new data point. Over days and weeks of this practice, something shifts. Your self-concept, that background hum of who I am, starts to include the version of you who already has the thing. And a changed self-concept changes everything downstream. The decisions you make, the opportunities you notice, the way you carry yourself in a room. You've heard people describe manifestation as becoming the person who already has it. The default mode network is the mechanism through which that becoming occurs, but the patience required here is real. Your network has been running old scripts for years, maybe decades. The stories about who you are, what you deserve, what's possible for you, those have deep grooves. Like a river that's carved its path through stone, the water follows the familiar channel unless you deliberately redirect it. One visualization session won't reroute the river. A week of them might create a trickle in a new direction. A month starts to matter. 3 months, and the old channel begins to dry. This is why Goddard emphasized persistence. Persist in the assumption, and it will harden into fact. He was describing a neurological process he had no language for. The assumption, the imagined scene, felt as real, is the new blueprint handed to the default mode network. Persistence is the repetition required for the network to prioritize this new story over the old one. The hardening into fact is the moment when your self-concept has shifted so completely that your behavior, perception, and circumstances reorganize to match. You've experienced small versions of this your entire life. Remember a time when you worried obsessively about something? A presentation, a confrontation, a medical result, and your mind played the worst-case scenario on loop for days. Your body responded as if the catastrophe had already happened. Your stomach clenched, your sleep fractured. Your interactions with people carried the shadow of this imagined future. The thing hadn't happened. Your default mode network had simply constructed it so thoroughly that your entire system believed it had. You manifested the experience of the disaster without the disaster itself. Now reverse the principle. The same machinery that made the worry feel real can make the wish feel real. The same network that rehearsed the catastrophe until your body believed it can rehearse the fulfillment, until your body believes that instead. The construction crew doesn't care whether the blueprint is fear or faith. It builds. There's a particular quality of attention that makes this work. Forced, effortful visualization. Gripping the scene with white knuckles activates the task-focused networks, inactivates the task-focused networks instead. The paradox is that you need a state of relaxed receptivity, similar to the one you naturally enter during daydreaming, to engage the default mode network deliberately. Goddard called this the state akin to sleep. That drowsy liminal awareness where the critical mind relaxes and the imagined scene can unfold without resistance. In that state, you're handing your blueprint directly to the construction crew with no middle manager questioning the plans. This is why meditation and manifestation aren't opposites. Meditation quiets the random chatter. It gives you access to the default mode network without the noise. From that cleared ground, you choose the scene. You choose the feeling. You let the network do what it does naturally. Wave that experience into your self-concept. But now you're choosing the thread. Your mind will wander today, probably within the next few minutes. When it does, notice where it goes. Notice the scene it constructs, the version of you it's building, the emotional tone it wraps around the future. That tone is the blueprint currently on the table. If you like what's being built, let the crew work. If you don't, you now know something most people never realize. You can walk onto that construction site, pull the old plans, and lay down new ones. The crew won't resist. They just need clear instructions, delivered in the only language they understand. A scene felt as real, repeated until the self agrees. The daydream was never wasted time. It was always the workshop where you were assembled, piece by piece, memory by memory, scene by scene. The only question worth asking is whether you'll keep leaving the workshop unattended.